The Great Hall on Nexus Prime was bigger than anything humans had ever built. The ceiling stretched so high that clouds formed near the top. Giant alien beings filled seats that could hold 20 humans each. Their voices echoed like thunder. As they talked about the meeting that would change everything, Ambassador Kang Hun stood alone in the center of the hall. He was a small man, even by human standards. Simple black suit looked tiny next to the massive aliens around him. Some aliens were made of crystal and glowed with inner light. Others had thick armor and claws as long as swords. A few floated in the air, their tentacles moving like snakes, but all of them were looking down at him with the same expression. They thought humans were weak. The prime speaker was a Veltharian, a being made of living crystal that stood 12 feet tall. When it spoke, its voice sounded like breaking glass mixed with wind chimes. "We are here today to discuss the human problem," it announced. "This species has shown us nothing but weakness." Kong tried to stand straighter. He had prepared for this moment for months, but nothing could have prepared him for the hate he saw. In so many alien eyes, Park Myra watched from the observation deck above. She was Earth's military attaché, but she wore simple civilian clothes. Her job was to watch and listen, not to speak. Her hands were folded calmly in her lap, but inside, she was taking notes on every alien she saw. Their weapons, their movements, their weaknesses. The Corvin delegate stood up next. He was 8 feet tall with thick gray skin and claws that could cut through steel. "The humans run from every fight," he growled. "When the Zephyrian raiders attacked their colonies on Kepler 442, what did they do? They loaded everyone onto ships and flew away like scared children?" Several aliens made sounds. That might have been laughter. To human ears, it sounded like grinding metal and breaking bones. Kong raised his hand. "If I may explain..." "Explain what?" The Thrakari ambassador slammed a massive fist on his table. The sound was like a cannon going off. "Explain how your people paid tribute to raiders instead of fighting. Explain how you always choose to run instead of standing your ground." More laughter echoed through the hall. Kong felt his face get hot, but he kept his voice calm. "My people believe that life is more valuable than pride. When we evacuated Kepler 442, we saved 40,000 civilians. When we paid the tribute, we prevented a war that would have killed millions. Cowards." The word came from a dozen different aliens in a dozen different languages. But Kang understood them all. The Zephyrian delegate was next to speak. She looked like a giant mantis with silver skin that reflected the light. "Humans claim to be civilized, but they have no honor. A true warrior would rather die than show such weakness." Kong looked up at the observation deck. Park Myra gave him the smallest nod. They both knew this was going exactly as Earth had expected it would. "Let me tell you what we know about humans," the prime speaker continued. Its crystal body pulsed, with different colors as it spoke. It had been in space for 200 years. In that time, they have never won a single military victory. They have never stood and fought when challenged. They always run, always hide, always give up what is theirs rather than fight for it. The Veltharian turned to address the other aliens. "I have studied their military. Their ships are built for speed, not combat. Their weapons are defensive, not offensive. They have never developed the tools of war because they do not have the spirit of warriors." An alien that looked like a giant spider made clicking sounds. Through the translation device, its words came out as, "Perhaps we should put them in a zoo. They might make interesting pets." The laughter was louder this time. Even some of the more peaceful alien species seemed to find this funny. Kong felt something cold settle in his stomach. This was worse than they had feared. The aliens didn't just think humans were weak. They thought humans were nothing more than animals. High above, in the observation deck, Li Jun was recording everything. He was a quiet man who worked in communications. Most people forgot he was there, which made him very good at his job. His fingers moved quickly over a small device, sending encrypted messages back to Earth. The messages were simple but important. They vote soon. Recommend Protocol 7. Back on Earth, President Kim Nara sat in a room deep underground. The walls were covered with screens showing star maps, ship positions, and military readiness reports. Around the table sat men and women in military uniforms, but their ranks and divisions were not ones that appeared in any public records. One of the screens showed the Galactic Council meeting. Kim watched as alien after alien stood up to mock humanity. Her face showed no emotion, but her hands were clenched into fists. "Ma'am," said General Ominji, "we're receiving constant updates from our people at Nexus Prime. It's going exactly as we predicted." Kim nodded. "In our preparations, all fleets are in position," replied Admiral Park Ji-won. "The Mars facilities are at full production. Our people in the outer colonies have received their orders." "Then we wait," Kim said, back at Nexus Prime. The vote was beginning. The Prime Speaker's voice rang out over the massive hall. "The motion before us today is simple. Humanity will be classified as a protected species under galactic law. They will lose their voting rights in this council. They will lose their claims to territory beyond their home system. They will be placed under the protection of more capable species." Kong stood up. "I must protest this decision. Humanity has never broken galactic law. We have always honored. Our agreements have contributed to science, art, and culture throughout the galaxy." "You have contributed nothing of value," snarled the Corvin delegate. "Your science is primitive. Your art is meaningless. Your culture is weak." The vote was called. One by one, each alien species voted yes. Humanity would become a protected species. They would be treated like children who could not take care of themselves. Kong watched the final tally appear on the great screen above the hall. 47 votes in favor, 0 votes against, 0 abstentions. Park Myra stood up in the observation deck. Several aliens looked up at her with mild curiosity. She was just another human after all. What could she possibly do? She smiled, and some of the aliens felt a strange chill. There was something in that smile that they had never seen from a human before. It was not fear or sadness or even anger. It was patience. Lee Jun sent one final message to Earth. Decision final. They chose war. President Kim received the message. In her underground bunker, she looked around the table at her military commanders. These were people the galaxy had never heard of, leading forces the galaxy did not know existed. "Ladies and gentlemen," she said quietly, "they have made their choice. Now they will learn what happens when you mistake kindness for weakness." She pressed a single button on the table in front of her. Around the galaxy, humanity began to disappear. 3 months had passed since the Galactic Council vote. Commander Sato of the Altarian Defense Force was the first to notice something was very wrong. He sat in his command chair on the bridge of the Star Watcher. His job was to monitor space traffic in this sector. For 20 years, he had watched human ships travel between their colonies. They were always on schedule. They always followed the same routes. They always answered when called. But for 3 months, nothing. Sir called his communications officer. "I'm trying to contact the human trade station at Wolf 359. No response." Sato frowned. "Try the emergency channels." "Already did, sir." "Nothing. It's like they're not there anymore." Sato pulled up the sector map on his main screen. Red dots showed where human ships should be. Green dots showed where they actually were. The screen was almost entirely red. "When was the last time we detected a human ship?" he asked. His navigator checked her records. 93 days ago, sir. A cargo vessel left the Proxima Centauri. System heading for Earth. We tracked it for 6 hours. Then it disappeared from sensors." "Disappeared?" "Ships don't just disappear." "This one did, sir. One moment it was there, the next it was gone." Sato had been a military officer for 30 years. He had seen strange things in space. But he had never seen an entire species just vanish. On Nexus Prime, the Galactic Council was meeting again. But this time, the mood was different. The aliens who had laughed at human weakness 3 months ago now looked worried. The Prime Speaker's crystal body was dim. "We have a problem," it announced. "All human communication networks have gone silent. Their trade ships have stopped running. Their colonies are not responding to contact attempts." The Thrakari ambassador shifted in his massive chair. "Perhaps. They are sulking. Humans were always emotional creatures. "This is more than sulking," said the Zephyrian delegate. "Our probe ships have entered human space. What they found is... disturbing." A holographic display showed images from the probe missions. Human colonies that had once been full of life now sat empty. Streets with no people, buildings with no lights, sports with no ships. "They're not dead," the Zephyrian continued. "There are no bodies, no signs of fighting. They're just... gone." The Corvin delegate slammed his claws on the table. "Good. Let them hide in their holes. It proves we were right about their cowardice." But others were not so sure. The Valtharian Prime Speaker had lived for 800 years. It had seen many species rise and fall. "In my experience," it said slowly, "when a predator goes silent, it is not because it has given up. It is because it is hunting." Far out in the Kuiper Belt, beyond the edge of human space, Captain Yoonhound stood on the bridge of the Resilience. Her ship was hidden in the shadow of a massive asteroid. From the outside, it looked like any other piece of space rock. But inside, 50% of humanity's best soldiers waited in complete silence. "Captain," whispered her sensor officer, "alien probe ship approaching. Looks like a Corvin scout." Yoon nodded. "Full stealth mode, no transmissions, no active scans. Let them pass." The alien ship drifted by, its sensors searching for any sign of human activity. It found nothing. The humans had learned to be invisible. When the alien ship was gone, Yoon allowed herself a small smile. "Mark another one," she told her crew. "That's the 15th probe this week." "They're getting nervous," said her first officer. "Good, Phase 1 is working perfectly." The Resilience was just one of dozens of human ships hiding in the outer system. They watched everything. They recorded everything. But they stayed hidden, like ghosts in the darkness. On Mars, 3 kilometers below the surface, Dr. Cho Sunho walked through corridors that officially did not exist. The walls were lined with machinery that hummed with quiet power. The air smelled of metal and electricity. He stopped at a massive window that looked out over a vast underground chamber. Below him, thousands of workers moved like ants. Were not building houses or roads or the things that peaceful people made. They were building weapons. "How many are ready?" asked General Omingi as she joined him at the window. 12,000 active units, Cho replied. 40,000 more in the reserve bays. The fabrication systems are running at maximum capacity. The general nodded. "And the new drives?" "Engineer Kung Do-ha finished the final tests yesterday. We can now move a ship from Earth to Alpha Centauri in 6 days instead of 6 months." Below them, a massive shape moved in the shadows. It was bigger than any ship humanity had ever admitted to building. Weapons bristled from its hull like the spines of a deadly creature. "How long have we been building these?" the general asked. "Project started 150 years ago," Cho said. "Every human world has a facility like this. Every human colony has contributed. While the galaxy saw us as peaceful traders, we were preparing for war." On Earth, in the capital city of New Geneva, the streets were empty. But this was not because the humans had vanished. It was because they were all underground, deep beneath the city, in chambers carved from solid rock. President Kim Nara met with her war council. The room was filled with people the galaxy had never heard of. Military leaders whose names appeared on no public lists, scientists who worked on projects that officially did not exist. "Status report," Kim said. Admiral Park Ji-won stood up. "All fleets are in position. The enemy believes we have no military capability. They are wrong. Our stealth technology is working perfectly," added Admiral Lee Bora. 73 alien probe ships have entered our space in the past month. None of them detected our forces." "What about the colonies?" Kim asked. "All civilian populations have been evacuated to secure locations," replied General Yang Chaoyong. "The galaxy thinks our colonies are empty. In reality, they are now military bases." Kim looked at the star map on the wall. Red symbols showed alien military positions. Blue symbols showed where the aliens thought human forces were located. There were almost no blue symbols. Green symbols showed where human forces actually were. The map was covered in green. How long before they try to take our territory? Kim asked. Intelligence suggests 2 weeks, said Admiral Park. The Corvan Empire is massing ships near the Centauri system. They think it's undefended. Kim smiled. It was not a kind smile. Let them come. It's time they learned what humans are really capable of. In space, near Jupiter, Communications Officer Lim Sora sat at her station aboard the hidden command ship, Silent Thunder. She was young, barely 25, but she had trained her whole life for this moment. Her fingers moved over the control panel. She was about to send a message that would change galactic history. Ma'am, she said to Captain Park Gina, I'm ready to transmit the final phase signal. Captain Park nodded. Send it. Lim typed a short message. Ghost protocol is now active. See you on the other side. The message went out on frequencies the aliens could not detect. It reached human ships hiding in asteroid fields. It reached underground bases on a dozen worlds. It reached soldiers who had been waiting in the darkness for 3 long months. Across the galaxy, humans began to move. But they were not running away this time. They were moving into position for the largest military operation in galactic history. An operation that would show every alien species what happened when you mistook human patience for human weakness. The galaxy had called them cowards. Soon the galaxy would learn the truth. Humans were not cowards. They were just very, very good at waiting for the right moment to strike. And that moment was almost here. 6 months had passed since humanity went silent. The galaxy was getting scared. On the war planet Curva Prime, Warlord Krex stood before a massive holographic map. He was 9 feet tall, with thick black armor covering his gray skin, scars covered. His face from 100 battles. He had never lost a war. Show me the human territories again, he growled to his officers. The map lit up with red dots marking human colonies. But something was wrong. Intelligence reports showed no ships, no defenses, no signs of life. Are we sure they're gone? Asked General Vex, Krex's second in command. Our scouts have checked every system 3 times, replied Admiral Gorth. Empty. All of them. The humans have run away and left everything behind. Krex smiled, showing teeth like broken glass. Then we take it all. The Centauri system has 3 good planets, rich with metals and water, perfect for our expansion. What if it's a trap? Asked General Vex. Krex laughed. A trap? These are humans we're talking about. They run from shadows. They pay tribute to pirates. What kind of trap could cowards set? The asteroid belt around Proxima Centauri. Lieutenant Jiang Minho crouched in the command center of the stealth frigate Ghostwalker. The ship looked like a piece of floating rock from the outside. Inside, it was packed with the most advanced sensors humanity had ever built. Lieutenant, whispered his sensor operator. Massive fleet approaching. 800 ships, Corvan. Design. Minho looked at his screens. The alien fleet was huge. Battleships the size of cities. Carriers full of fighter craft. Destroyers bristling with weapons. Any signs they've detected us? He asked. Negative, sir. Stealth systems are working perfectly. Minho opened a secure channel to Fleet Admiral Park Juan. Idanine. The fish are taking the bait. 800 ships, coming in fast. 3 light minutes away, Admiral Park stood on the bridge of the dreadnought. Silent Thunder. His ship was hidden behind Proxima Centauri's largest moon. Around him in the darkness waited 1,000 human warships. Understood, Lieutenant Park replied. Continue monitoring. Do not engage until I give the order. The human ships were invisible to alien sensors. They'd been waiting here for 2 months, knowing this moment would come. Aliens thought humans were gone. They're about to learn how wrong they were. On the planet New Sol in the Centauri system, Captain Kim Dae-ho watched the sky through his helmet visor. His marine unit was hidden in bunkers built into the mountains. From orbit, the planet looked empty. The aliens would find out it was anything but. Sir, called Sergeant Pak Jisoo over the radio, orbital sensors detect the alien fleet.
Oh, there.
Moving into attack formation, Kim smiled grimly. Let them come. Time to show these creatures what human marines can do. The Corvin fleet entered the Centauri system like a pack of hungry wolves. Warlord Krex stood on the bridge of his flagship, Bloodfang. Through the massive windows, he could see the 3 human planets floating peacefully in space. "Begin the scan," he ordered. "Ow, I want to know if anything valuable is left behind." His science officer bent over her instruments. "Warlord, I'm detecting some energy readings from the 3rd planet. Looks like automated systems, maybe some left over." "Machinery? Any defenses?" "Negative, sir. No orbital stations, no defense satellites, just a few old communication arrays." Krex nodded. "Send the first wave. Take the planet. Kill anything that moves." 200 Corvin ships broke away from the main fleet and headed for New Sol. They moved in perfect formation, their weapons powered up and ready to destroy anything that fought back. They had no idea they were flying into the most deadly trap in galactic history. Admiral Park watched the alien ships approach the planet. His tactical display showed their positions perfectly. The aliens were bunched together, confident in their strength. "All ships," he said quietly into his communicator, "prepare for decloak. Set weapons to maximum power. Around the system human." Ships began to move. They had been hiding in asteroid fields, behind moons, in the shadows of gas giants. Now they came out of the darkness like hunters emerging from the forest. "Lieutenant Zhang." Minho felt his heart pounding as he watched the first wave of aliens approach the planet. "Admiral, they're beginning their attack run." "Copy that, Lieutenant." "All ships, execute Ghost Strike Protocol. Let's show them what happens when you threaten human worlds." The aliens never saw it coming. One moment they were flying toward an empty planet. The next moment, they were surrounded by 1,000 human warships that seemed to appear from nowhere. The human ships were like nothing the galaxy had ever seen. They were sleek and deadly, built for speed and killing. Their weapons glowed with strange energy that made the space around them shimmer. "What is this?" screamed General Vex, as alarms sounded throughout the Corvin fleet. "Where did they come from?"
Oh,
Red dots marked enemy ships. There were so many red dots that the screen looked like it was bleeding. "Impossible," he whispered. Intelligence said the humans had no military capability. Admiral Park's voice echoed across all communication frequencies. "This is Fleet Admiral Park Juan of the Human Defense Force. You have entered human space with hostile intent. You have one chance to surrender. Choose wisely." Krex roared with rage. "Surrender? To humans? Fire everything. Kill them all." The Corvin fleet opened fire. Thousands of energy beams and missiles filled the space between the fleets. It was the largest battle the Outer Rim had seen in 50 years, but the humans were ready, Captain. Yunhound commanded the destroyer Stormchaser. Her ship danced between the alien weapons like a leaf in the wind. The Corvin ships were powerful, but slow. Human ships were fast and deadly. "Target their flagship," she ordered her weapons officer. "Show them what human engineering can do." Stormchaser's main gun fired. It was not like the energy weapons the aliens used. This was something new, something that bent space itself and sent destruction across impossible distances. The beam hit the Corvin flagship and tore through its armor like paper. Secondary explosions ripped through the massive ship as its power systems overloaded. Impossible. General Vex screamed as his ship began to fall apart around him. "Our armor is the strongest in the galaxy." "Not anymore," Captain Yoon said quietly. As she watched the enemy flagship break into pieces, the battle lasted exactly 17 minutes. When it was over, 800 Corvin ships had been reduced to floating debris. The most powerful military force in the Outer Rim had been completely destroyed. Not a single human ship was lost. Lieutenant Jiang Minho stared at his sensors in amazement. Admiral, enemy fleet is completely eliminated. All targets destroyed. Admiral Park nodded. Open a channel to the galaxy. All frequencies. Across the galaxy, every alien communication system received the same message. Captain Yunhan's voice was calm and clear as she spoke words that would be remembered for 1,000 years. This is Captain Yunhan of the Human Defense Force. We are broadcasting on all frequencies so that every species in the galaxy can hear this message clearly. She paused, letting the silence build. The Galactic Council declared humanity a protected species. They said we were too weak to defend ourselves. They said we needed their protection. Another pause. We decline their protection. This is humanity's response to anyone who thinks they can take what is ours. We are not your pets. We are not your servants. We are not weak. The transmission showed images of the destroyed Corvin fleet floating in space. We are human, and we are done being polite. The message ended. Across the galaxy, alien leaders stared at their screens in shock. Species they had mocked as cowards had just destroyed the most feared military force in known space, and they had done it without breaking a sweat on Nexus Prime. The Galactic Council met an emergency session, but this time, nobody was laughing. The humans had sent their message. The galaxy had received it loud and clear. The age of human weakness was over. The news traveled across the galaxy in 3 days. 800 Corvin ships destroyed. The most powerful military force in the Outer Rim wiped out in 17 minutes. Not a single human ship lost. On Nexus Prime, the Galactic Council emergency session was chaos. The great hall that had once echoed with laughter at human weakness now rang with frightened voices. Aliens who had mocked humanity 3 months ago now spoke in hushed whispers about human military power. The Throckary ambassador paced back and forth on his platform. His massive claws scraped against the metal floor with each step. "This is impossible," he roared. "Our intelligence reports showed humans had no weapons, no fleets, no military capability." The Zephyrian delegate's silver body trembled. "To 800 ships," she repeated. The Corvins had 800 ships. Heavy battleships, assault carriers. How could humans destroy them all? The Veltharian Prime Speaker stood silent for a long time. Its crystal body was darker than usual, pulsing with worried colors. Because it said finally, we saw only what they wanted us to see. At that moment, the great doors of the hall opened. Figure in black walked in alone. Every alien I turned to watch him. It was Ambassador Nam Seokjin, humanity's new representative. But he was nothing like the previous ambassador. Konghan had worn simple, diplomatic clothes. Nam wore the black uniform of the Human Defense Force. Silver stars on his collar showed his rank. A weapon hung at his side. He walked to the center of the hall with calm confidence. The same spot where humans had been mocked now held a man who looked like he could destroy them all. "Honored delegates," Nam said, his voice carrying clearly. "Through the vast hall, I am Ambassador Nam Seokjin, speak for the Human Defense Force and the Earth government." The Corvin delegate who had replaced the dead warlord Krex stood up. "You destroyed our fleet," he snarled. "That was an act of war." Nam looked at him calmly. "No, that was self-defense. Your fleet entered human space with weapons powered and declared hostile intent. We responded appropriately. The Throckary ambassador's voice shook with rage. "You killed 80,000 Corvin soldiers." "Your soldiers came to kill human civilians," Nam replied. "They failed." "We do not mourn the deaths of those who would murder innocent people." A holographic display appeared above the hall. It showed the Centauri system from human surveillance. Records. Aliens watched as the Corvin fleet approached human planets with weapons ready to fire. Then they watched the human fleet appear from nowhere. Ships that looked like nothing they had ever seen. weapons that tore through Corvan armor. Like it was made of paper? This is impossible, whispered the Altarian delegate. Where did these ships come from? How long have you been building them? Nam smiled. It was not a friendly smile. Intelligence requires wisdom to interpret correctly. You saw what you expected. To see weak humans running from every fight, as cowards who would rather pay tribute than defend themselves. The holographic display changed. Now it showed human shipyards hidden in asteroid fields, underground weapons factories on human worlds, military bases disguised as civilian colonies. You saw merchant ships and thought we had no warships. You saw us avoid conflicts and thought we could not fight. You saw us pay tribute and thought we were weak. The display showed more images. Human soldiers training in secret, scientists developing new weapons, engineers building ships that could destroy anything the galaxy had ever created. What you did not see was the truth. For 150 years, humanity has been preparing for this moment. Every human world has contributed. Every human colony has hidden weapons and soldiers. While you laughed at our weakness, we were becoming the most dangerous species in the galaxy. General Yang Chaiyung appeared via hologram. She stood on the bridge of the super dreadnought Earth's Wrath, a ship so massive it could be seen from space. Behind her, human crew members worked at stations covered with weapons controls. 300 years ago, humanity first looked up at the stars, she said. We dreamed of joining a galactic community as equals. We hoped to find friends among the stars. Her expression hardened. Instead, we found predators, species that saw kindness as weakness. Aliens who mistook patience for cowardice. You taught us that the galaxy respects only strength. The hologram changed to show a tactical display. Red dots marked alien military forces throughout the galaxy. Green dots showed human forces. There were far more green dots than anyone had imagined possible. So, we became strong, General Yang continued. We learned your tactics. We studied your weapons. We found your weaknesses, and we prepared. The Valtharian Prime Speaker's crystal body flickered with fear. What do you want from us? President Kim Nara's image appeared on the hologram. She sat in the Situation Room on Earth, surrounded by military officers and strategic displays. The voice was calm but carried the weight of absolute authority. What we have always wanted? Respect. The human race will no longer be classified as a protected species. Our territorial claims will be restored. Our colonies will be returned to human control. She paused, letting her words sink in. And there will be reparations for the insult you have given us, the Zephyrian delegate hissed angrily. And if we refuse? Commander Song Wubin appeared on a smaller display. He stood on the bridge of a human warship in deep space. Behind him, stars moved past the windows as his fleet patrolled the outer rim. In the past week, 17 alien fleets have moved against human interests, he said calmly. 17 fleets have been eliminated. 0 human casualties. The tactical display updated to show the locations of the destroyed fleets. The Altarian Third Fleet, the Zephyrian Assault Group, the Thrakari Border Guard. All gone. The Corvan fleet was not the first, Commander Song continued. It was simply the largest. We have been defending our territory for months. You just did not know it was happening.
Oh.
The aliens in the Great Hall stared at the display in shock. 17 fleets destroyed. Thousands of ships. Millions of soldiers. All eliminated without the galaxy even knowing there was a war happening. Nam stepped forward. Refusal is no longer an option you possess. The balance of power in this galaxy has changed. Humanity is no longer the weak species you can push around. The Corvan delegate roared with rage. Will not bow to humans. The Corvan Empire will. The Corvan Empire no longer exists. Nam interrupted. Your home fleet was destroyed 2 hours ago. Your military bases have been captured. Your government has surrendered. The hologram showed Corvan Prime. Human ships hung in orbit around the planet. The proud banners of the Corvan Empire had been replaced with white flags of surrender. How? The Corvan delegate whispered. We are very good at planning, Nam replied. Every fleet you sent against us was tracked from the moment it left port. We knew where you were going before you did. We were waiting. The hall fell silent. Same aliens who had laughed at human cowardice now faced the reality of human power. They had created their own worst nightmare by underestimating the most patient, the threater in the galaxy. The Thrakari ambassador spoke quietly. What happens now? President Kim's image smiled coldly. Now you learn to live in a galaxy where humans are equals, not pets. Where respect is earned through strength, not given through pity. A lockpick. The holographic display showed human fleets moving. Throughout the galaxy, they were not attacking. They were patrolling, keeping the peace through overwhelming force. The age of alien dominance is over, Nam announced. Welcome to the human century. The Galactic Council that had once mocked human weakness now faced a species that could destroy them all. And they knew it. 1 year had passed since the day the galaxy learned to fear humanity. Admiral Choi Yemen stood on the bridge of his flagship Eternal Vigilance. Watching the rebuilt cities on what had once been Corvin Prime, the planet now had a new name, New Harmony. Human engineers had worked alongside former Corvin civilians to build something better than what came before. Sir called his communications officer. The morning patrol reports are coming in. All sectors peaceful. Yemen nodded. Any problems? Small. Pirate band tried to raid a Zephyrian cargo ship near the Altair system. The swift justice dealt with them. Casualties. None, sir. The pirates surrendered when they saw our ship approaching. Yemen smiled. That was how things worked now. Galaxy had learned that human ships meant order and justice. Pirates, raiders, and warmongers scattered like shadows when human patrols arrived. The former Corvan territories were now under human protection. But it was not the cruel domination the Corvans had practiced. Humans brought peace, trade, and prosperity. Worlds that had lived in fear now flourished under human guidance. On Nexus Prime, the signing ceremony for the Galactic Accords was about to begin. Diplomat Lee Yuna walked through the Great Hall where humans had once been mocked. Now alien delegates stood when she entered. They bowed their heads in respect. The same species that had laughed at human weakness now competed desperately for favorable trade agreements. The Thrakari Empire offered rare metals. The Zephyrian Confederation shared their navigation technology. The Altarian Republic gave access to their star charts. Everyone wanted to be humanity's friend now. Lee Yuna took her place at the central podium. Around her sat representatives from 47 alien species. No one mocked. They all listened carefully to every word she said. The Galactic Accords are simple, she announced. Peace through strength, justice through unity, prosperity through cooperation. The document she held contained new laws for the galaxy. No more tribute payments to pirates. No more raids on peaceful colonies. No more wars of conquest. Any species that broke these laws would face human justice. And everyone knew what human justice looked like. The Thrakari ambassador raised his massive hand. What about species that cannot protect themselves? The smaller colonies, the peaceful traders. They will be protected, Lee Yuna replied. Human fleets will patrol all major trade routes. Human bases will be established in key systems. No one will prey on the weak again. It was a promise humanity intended to keep. On Mars, Dr. Cho Sunho walked through the research facility that was no longer secret. The underground chambers now buzzed with activity from scientists of many species. Humans worked alongside Altarians to develop better medicine. Safarian engineers helped improve human ship designs. Former enemies had become partners.
Doctor
Called his assistant. The new engine design is ready for testing. Cho looked at the holographic blueprint. It was beautiful in its simplicity. Human quantum technology, combined with Altarian power systems and Zephyrian navigation computers, together they had created something none of them could have built alone. Excellent. Begin the tests. This was humanity's vision for the galaxy. Not conquest, but cooperation. It's not domination, but partnership. The weapons humanity had built in secret were still there, still ready. But now they were used to protect rather than destroy. In the former Corvin Palace on New Harmony, President Kim Nara met with local leaders. The throne room that had once displayed the heads of defeated enemies now held a conference table where humans and former Corvans worked together. The mining operations are exceeding expectations, reported Administrator Pak Minsu. Productivity is up 40% since we ended the slave labor system. Kim nodded. Free workers are always more productive than slaves. About the schools. The education centers are full, replied former General Tox, who now served as Minister of Development. Young Corvins are eager to learn human technology and philosophy. It had taken time, but the former warriors were learning to build instead. Of destroy, human teachers showed them new ways to live, not as conquerors, but as contributors to galactic civilization. Tox looked at Kim with something like wonder. I do not understand, he said. You defeated us completely. You could have enslaved us, killed us, destroyed our world. Instead, you help us become better. Why? Kim smiled. Because that is what strong people do. You protect the weak and lift up the fallen. True strength is not about destroying your enemies. It is about turning them into friends. Captain Park Mira commanded the exploration vessel New Horizon as it traveled beyond the galactic rim. Her mission was to map unexplored regions and search for new life. Humanity's period of hiding was over. Now they would expand, explore, and ensure that the galaxy remained peaceful. Captain called her science officer. We're detecting signals from an unknown system. This looks like a distress call. From what species? Unknown, ma'am? The signal is very weak and in a language we've never heard before. Park made her decision quickly. Set course for the signal. Maximum speed. This was humanity's new role in the galaxy. They were the ones others called when help was needed. They were the ones who rushed toward danger instead of running from it. On Earth, in the same underground chamber where humanity had planned their secret war, a different kind of meeting was taking place. The room that had once been filled with military officers now held teachers, doctors, engineers, and diplomats. President Kim addressed her staff. The annual peace report shows remarkable progress. Galaxy-wide conflicts are down 70%. Trade is up 80%. Piracy has almost disappeared. What about resistance movements? Asked General Ominji. Small and decreasing, replied Intelligence Director Lim Su-Yang. Most species have discovered they prefer human protection to their old ways of constant warfare. Kim looked at the star map on the wall. Green symbols still marked human military positions throughout the galaxy. But now, there were symbols of protection, not conquest. Our ancestors dreamed of taking our place among the stars as equals, she said. We have exceeded their dreams. We are not just equals, we're guardians. A year ago, the Thrakari ambassador had approached Ambassador Nam after the Galactic Council session. His question had haunted many alien leaders. How long? It asked. How long were you planning this? I'd considered the question carefully. Since the day we first looked up at the stars and realized we were not alone. Humans have a saying, speak softly and carry a big stick. The galaxy only heard the soft speaking. A year later, the galaxy understood the full meaning of those words. In the depths of space, human ships patrolled trade routes that had once been hunting grounds for pirates. On worlds that had known only war, children played in parks built by human engineers. In the Great Hall on Nexus Prime, alien delegates worked together to solve problems, instead of starting conflicts. The Galactic Council had mocked human cowardice. They had learned too late that what they called cowardice was actually the most dangerous trait in the universe. Patience. Humanity had been very, very patient. They had watched, learned, and prepared while presenting themselves as weak and harmless. They had turned their apparent weakness into their greatest strength. The galaxy had expected humans to be victims. Instead, they had become protectors. The galaxy had expected humans to be servants. Instead, they had become leaders. The galaxy had expected humans to be cowards. Instead, they had become the guardians of galactic peace, and now, as human ships, carried the light of civilization to the farthest reaches of space. One truth echoed throughout the galaxy. Never again would anyone mistake human kindness for human weakness. The age of human dominance had begun, but would be an age of peace.